pranams to the lotus feet of our dearest Swami, Sai Ram, and welcome to our brand new series, The Peace Talk. I am Bhavadharani, your host for today. Today, we have an amazing person with us. Born into a loving Sai family, she has served as the Western Australia Regional Devotional Coordinator and Young Adult Advisor. She is currently the Study Circle Coordinator of her center. In her professional life, she is a dedicated physiotherapist. Let us please welcome Sister Hope, Sai Ram sister.
Sai Ram, thank you for having me.
It's great speaking to you. Thank you for agreeing to do this. And before we start, can you share a little bit of your experience with Swami or with the center? Any small things, just as an icebreaker?
Sure. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is seeing Swami in India as a young adult. So my parents took me there when I was very young, and I don't have a lot of memories from those early trips. But when I think I must have been 18, I was a part of the World Youth Conference, and I think that was 1997, the World Youth Conference then. And going in that trip and seeing Swami and having that first opportunity to be up close and personal, and just in that really close proximity to him, there was this moment of him coming really close to me, and I had this funny, intense feeling, which is really opposite than most people. I had this intense feeling of, please don't look at me, which is completely opposite to everyone. And I just felt like every part of me was completely exposed in that moment, and it was overwhelming. And he was walking beside, we were actually going to sing bhajan for him, and he was walking beside down the aisle and just talking to the young adults that were there. And as I turned my mat to follow where he was going, I heard inside, "I have always been with you." And that just, I look back now and I think, what a special treat, even now, to think back to that moment of going, oh, that message was right there for me internally. I've always been with you. I am always with you by extension. It's a precious thing that I hold on to. And luckily later in the trip, I had another opportunity when he came close. I didn't have that same overwhelming feeling at all.
That's really lovely. Swami is always with us and will always be with us. Thank you for sharing that, sister. Now let's move into our first question. What are some practical ways to integrate gratitude and reverence into our daily prayers and meditation practices?
Sure, practical ways. I want to start by, firstly expressing my gratitude to have this topic, think about gratitude and reverence. And I want to approach it from my own experience and the way what it means to me. But I think also as a study circle coordinator, I look at this topic and think what a valuable opportunity to hear from everyone and their own perspective. I just wanted to share that to begin with. But before I talk about practical ways to cultivate gratitude and reverence and how to bring that into your spiritual practices, I'd like to talk about what I'm grateful for. And throughout my time with knowing Swami in my life, I'm most grateful, and there's so many things, but I'm most very grateful for having been exposed to his teachings, and also for the opportunity of having been able to listen to his teachings in his discourses there firsthand, but also having them available to me, and also having the interest in my teenage and my young adult years to spend time with reading his discourses and reading his writings. And pondering them and trying to apply them. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And for me, that gratitude is really all about having had that opportunity and that gift, we need to apply what we were given. So within the teachings, they're so important, and therefore we need to apply and spend time making sure our life is valuable and we're using our time in the way that we should. So that's what gratitude is. That's what resonates probably most deeply for me, is gratitude as a motivator in the way that we think about spending our time and the choices that we make with this beautiful gift of life that we have. And so for how I apply it to my prayers and spiritual practices, it's almost like the foundational element that's driving my motivation to engage in my prayers and to take my prayers from something, some special time in your day that you carve out, to something more than that, to something that you're having this trying to have a regular conversation with divinity within, and bring it, extend it into your normal days and your roles, and moving forward in that spiritual journey, rather than just maybe going through your motions. So that's how it's probably my response to this question is a little different than maybe other people's will be, but for me it's the motivator that takes us to apply our spiritual practices with more intensity, with more regularity, more consistency in what we're doing. And same for reverence. For me, reverence has always been for his teachings first and foremost. And there was a period of time where Swami stopped speaking. And there was a reference to, I remember that he referenced that we weren't valuing what he was saying, so why should he speak more? So there was a period of time where he wasn't giving discourses. I don't recall how long that was, but it just resonates with me that we should value those teachings so much, and therefore make it a point to apply them into our lives. And with reverence, I also think practically about, he always said, God is with you, in you, above you, around you, below you. And also just remembering divinity in every atom, every cell, every moment. So for me, reverence is sort of taking those two things and thinking about, how am I really truly bringing that into my day, throughout my entire day, throughout all my roles and responsibilities and my spiritual practices, and making these things, which could be habitual or rote or mundane, making them sanctified. So yes. That's my approach to practically bringing those two into your spiritual practices.
That's beautiful, sister. Thank you. With that, I think two things that I got is, the first thing you said, the choices we make with the beautiful gift of life. I think life is something everybody sometimes forgets to appreciate, or we're just too busy running, and sometimes we just don't stop to think of the choices we make with this precious, precious gift that Swami has given to us. And another thing is that Swami has said in Kali Yuga, the easiest way to attain moksha is by namasmarana. And I think that is one of the most practical ways. We do not have to sit for hours and hours chanting and praying and singing, but just constant recollection of his name, just Jai Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram, anything, just his name is the most practical way. And one incident comes to my mind is that when we had a yatra to Parthi, as I think I was 15 or 16, and we had this sadhana that we had to do. We had to write, I think it was 21, if I'm not mistaken, 21 Om Sai Ram every single day. It was a sadhana until we reached. And after those 21 days, I'm not sure for others, but for me, Om Sai Ram kept playing in my head for a while. I think if I had done it for 21 days, I think for the next week or so, it kept playing in my head. And I think it was an automatic namasmarana running behind my head. And I think those are small things. 21 times per day is not even 10 minutes. And I think just those small disciplinary acts, doing it every day, sitting, getting your pen, your book, writing, and just thinking of Swami, I think, namasmarana can based on my experience and based on what I learned from what Swami said, namasmarana seems to be something that has really, really touched my heart, not only through Om Sai Ram or Jai Sai Ram and writing, but also through bhajans. I think I may be a little biased because I've always loved bhajans, and I think just singing his name, singing and how do I say it? I think when it comes to bhajan, the emotion that is integrated with it, right? Is just so much that sometimes when you listen to a bhajan, you just can't control your tears.
Absolutely.
Yes, I that is something that just struck me when based on your answers. Thank you for that, sister.
That's okay. And also with the Namasmaranam, it's that gift of how it comes back to you.
Yes.
You're putting in the effort, and then sometimes you're almost not even trying, and it comes back to you, and that's such a gift in itself. And you want to doubly commit your efforts.
Yes.
So it's beautiful.
Exactly. Moving on to the next question. How can we share the teachings of gratitude and reverence with others, both within the Sai family and beyond?
When I think about this question, I think my very first thoughts when it comes to sharing Swami's teachings is really first checking that we're living by them. Whichever teaching that you're wanting to share, it is so important just to very first and foremost not even look to share necessarily, is look to apply, to not just have understood it, and Swami talks about book knowledge, not just to have read or maybe even contemplated, but also to have applied it into your life and experience that teaching in your life and see the impact. I think that's probably the very first step when I think about sharing his teachings. And then when I think about the opportunities to share, it kind of comes back to valuing his teachings, that there may be, I look for opportunities when they occur, and those are genuine opportunities where someone's actually genuinely wanting that inspiration, or there's something about the context where you actually think the person wants to hear this or wants to ask you. I look for those opportunities, because otherwise, if not, they might just have some cursory sort of surface level interest in what you say, and I want to always make sure to value Swami's teachings. And I think an example is like with my children. If I went around telling them Swami's teachings all the time, they would roll their eyes at me. But then sometimes there's context with things happening in their life, or they're having trouble with an issue, and then it just presents itself in that moment, this where they're willing to listen, the context is there. And then I think when you're sharing teachings, there's probably an art form to it, in that I find sharing your own experiences and sharing your own story is probably a really valuable way, but also maybe even asking questions and sort of getting them to think about it from different perspectives, so you're not telling so much. And there's an art form to sharing teachings, really, as coming at it from a same space and an open heart and an expansive heart, and not really coming at it from a point of feeling superior or judgmental or any of that, because I think the message then is received in the same way with that really open heart.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. And I think another thing that has just struck with what you said is Swami always says, "My life is my message."
Yes.
And Swami always says, "Your life is my message." I think those two things should always be a constant reminder that we carry Swami's name. We bring Swami with us, above us, below us, beside us, in front of us, and behind us. We bring Swami with us, and I think living our lives as his message is the best way that we can share his teachings.
Sure. I agree, and I'm so glad you said it, because when I was thinking about this, that is exactly something that I wrote down, that Swami says, "My life is my message, your life is my message," and how important that is, and hopefully that in the way we live our lives, that's how we can spark that interest in someone else, that says, "There's something unique about you, there's something different, I'm inspired, I want to know more."
Exactly. Moving on to question 3. How can we cultivate a deeper sense of gratitude for Swami's blessings in our daily life? I think this question goes really, really deep, especially for youths and teens who are
Yes.
in that midlife I'm not going to say crisis, but midlife questioning. There's so many questions youths have, including myself.
Yeah.
Why is this? Why is that? Why is this not this? Why is this not that? And how can we develop that gratitude for Swami's blessings? Swami always says, count your blessings. How can we do that?
Yes. It's nice that you brought in the youth perspective, and it takes me back to my youth and young adult years. And there's so much about planning forward and thinking forward. You know, there's a lot of you're studying and you haven't gotten your career yet, or you haven't gotten a family, your own family yet, still with your parents or something. And there's so much about who's this person that I'm becoming, and who's this life, what's this life that is evolving around me. And I think in that context, gratitude really brings you back into the present moment, and takes you out of that forward planning, which is necessary. There's elements that you're doing in preparation for your later life, but it takes you back to the present moment, and you're thinking about what is and what will be. For me, cultivating gratitude, and there's so many ways. Some people talk about gratitude journal, and I did try that once, and I never really connected with the things that I was writing, so it didn't work for me personally. But when I think about gratitude, I kind of like to think about sort of the undercurrents that are involved in gratitude, and one of them is being humble and humility over having received something that you look at as really valuable and a gift. And there's that humility about it, feeling almost like you were lucky. Maybe, how did I get so lucky to have this blessing come to me? And then within gratitude as well, because being grateful, there's an element of contentedness. You're not in a state of lacking or wanting. There's the gift that has come and you're feeling full. So therefore, it's like a contentedness and a peacefulness about it. And I think with those things together, spending time thinking about what is it that you are grateful for is helpful. And also, how are you using those gifts? Because part of gratitude, with not only the contentedness and the gift and the humility, but is also what are you going to do with it? Coming back to how are you going to put it into action? And if you have a skill set, how are you going to put that into something useful for people around you? So I think probably part of gratitude is thinking about what you're grateful for, and then how are you applying it, and are you making use of it, and are you making use of it that's beneficial for all and people around you. I think it's also helpful to, one of the practices I have is from Swami's WATCH, the acronym WATCH. Yes. Watch your words, actions, thoughts, character, and heart. And this kind of relates to the practicing contentedness, and it relates to that humility, is watching what your inner speaking is like, and what your thoughts and what you're saying, watching all of those things and seeing how well that actually is aligning with being grateful for the blessings that you have. That's helpful, and having a time to sit and reflect on what you're learning in the moment and in the day, and having some time to reflect back and align it with that sense of gratitude. So I guess that is something for me, that how I cultivate gratitude, and really just coming back to how I talked about in the beginning. How am I spending my time, and what choices am I making? So kind of having this ability to monitor yourself. And it's so easy in our days to get drawn out into the world and to forget things, or just to get a little bit attracted outward. But having these regular practices and mechanisms to catch yourself and go, this is not the direction that I want to go. I want to still move inward and move forward on my spiritual journey.
Exactly. I think being drawn out on your everyday life is something that we need to pull ourselves back and think of all the things that has happened that has brought us to this point, and not all the bad things that has happened. Thank you for saying that. I think that is something we all need to remember. And another story that came to my mind where with the word gratitude is that we always thank Swami for good things that happen, but do we ever thank Swami for the bad things that has happened to us?
Yes. That's a very good point.
Yes. I have this story that I really hope I'm narrating correctly. So there was this one person who God told him, I'm going to put a big boulder in front of your house and I want you to push it every day. And so, yes, he pushed it every single day. He kept pushing it until at one point, weeks later probably, he got really frustrated and annoyed, and I'm pushing this rock and it is not moving. Why did God ask me to push this rock? And there's this devil that always come behind your mind. It's always, don't do this, do something else. Why are you doing this? You're wasting time. Go watch TV, go eat something. There's always this thing that talks behind your mind. And similarly, it told him, don't push this rock, just stop it, just do something useful. This isn't useful, you're not moving the rock. And then God came and he started complaining to God. He was like, I'm pushing this rock, it is not moving. What do you want me to do? Why did you ask me to push this rock? He went on a long spree, scolding and questioning and everything. And God asked him one question: did I ask you to push the rock, or did I ask you to move the rock? And he said, you asked me to push the rock. And God said, look at your arms. Look at your arms. And he looked at his arms. He said, yeah, I have muscles. I've grown muscles. And God said, I put this rock in front of you. I asked you to push this rock and not move this rock because I wanted you to gain the muscles for something that I'm giving you later.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we all have that one rock in our life, and at some point we would have fought with Swami or questioned Swami, like, why are you giving me this rock? What did I do to deserve this rock? But sometimes when you think about it, this rock would probably be something that has prepared you for things that are going to come, good things or bad things. Maybe this has eased you into the bad experiences that were going to come, or maybe this was an opening door for the good experiences that was going to come. This is a story I will always remember.
I do too. I love that story, and I think about times in my life where certain barriers and obstacles were very difficult to overcome, and in fact, years of dealing with some different obstacles, and at the end of it all, when the problem eventually vanished, I look at it and I think, what has deepened out of all of that is my connection to Him, my understanding of what surrender is, and forbearance. There's so many things that you get, and it's just a beautiful story to remember. That we go through these things and we don't know everything, and we don't know why we have the problems that we have, but we just want to bear them with His name in our minds and taking that step forward. While you were speaking, I also thought about gratitude and cultivating gratitude. If we think about practically when we're doing our prayers, one thing is not asking for a specific outcome, and I think this kind of relates to pushing the rock story as well, is not praying for an event or an outcome, because that would sort of be the opposite of gratitude, acknowledging that what will be, and what I need to have and receive, I will have and receive, and sort of letting that little bit of letting go. So watching how we engage in that prayer and what we're asking for. One thing I remember him saying is, if you feel you're lacking in a quality, I think he said quality, like patience or compassion, or you don't have enough of that, pray for that, but don't pray for external events or particular outcomes.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. Moving on to our last question for today. How does practicing gratitude and reverence align with seeing the divine in everyone and everything per Satya Sai Baba?
I think reverence is the first one that is so aligned, especially if you're coming at it from trying to move to that reverence in this moment, that God is in you, with you, above you, around you, below you. There's divinity in every atom, every cell, every moment. That means that every time you're in, your interactions with nature, your interactions with people around you and your family, and maybe the service that you're doing through the organization, maybe through your work, there's all these opportunities to bring in this understanding and connection that really there's just God around us. and trying to, I suppose, I feel like sometimes as that pool, you go through the motions and you don't sanctify the moment. But instead, if we come in with this reverence into all the responsibilities we have and all the actions we take, then it just lifts everything up. Everything becomes, an act of devotion. Everything becomes an act of service, whether it's just within your family or for the community or within the organization. So I feel like that element of reverence helps to establish that connection and see divinity in everyone. And like I said before, if we really have that gratitude, then we will make the right choices with our time, and we will deepen our efforts and move forward in our spiritual journey. And I think that is always going to help us to connect and feel that divinity within everyone.
Yes, I think another thing based on the previous question we spoke about is that how we share Swami's teachings. I think that comes back to seeing Swami in everyone. I think kindness is now something we all seek for in people generally. And I think when we see Swami in somebody, there is no other way for us to be than kind. When we see someone in a person that we're speaking to, it's always kindness. We're never going to go up to Swami and be rude to him, right? I think when we see Swami or God in general, any God in someone that we're speaking to or we are living with, roommates, housemates, family members, colleagues, strangers, anybody, seeing Swami in them not only lights up their day because you're so nice to them, but it also gives you the satisfaction that you've seen Swami multiple times a day. Seeing Swami in everybody gives you a sense of belonging, a sense of closeness to him, and you just don't go about your day, finish your day and get back. You see Swami in small beautiful things, Swami in not only people actually, but in nature, in animals. I think sometimes it may be easier to see Swami in animals and nature, but I think that is the level of love we have for Swami, seeing Swami in everybody. Thank you for bringing that point up. And we have come to the end of our session today. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, I'm just really grateful for the opportunity and offering all of this to Swami at his lotus feet. And I appreciate everything that you have said. And I find this topic so inspiring and even for my own self, just to move forward for my own self and take that next step and deepen my practice. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. There are so many things that you said I think I will carry forward, and I think everybody watching this will. And thank you for your time. Thank you, Swami, for this opportunity. This is all for today, dear viewers. We will see you again very, very soon. Thank you, and Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.